Welcome back to the channel, everybody. The fate of our K-Swap 240 has been decided. Are we selling it? We're gonna give it away. How much did it cost to build? Stay tuned to find out. If you guys watched the last episode, you will know we have run our personal best fastest lap with this car. It is an absolute awesome car to drive right now. And that's why making a decision as to what to do with it next has been so difficult. Dave and I have been back and forth pondering, do we sell this car? Do we give it away? Do we park it for a bit and bring it back later on where we can spend more time developing it? But at this point, I think the best thing for us to do is sell it. And the reason for that is we have so many other projects going on that we felt like it would be a disservice to keep this car around, shelve it, and then try to bring it back, because we find when we bring project cars back, they don't get as many views as the new ones. And as for giving away, we would actually love to do that, but the harsh reality of us being in Canada and the majority of you guys being in the US means odds are somebody would win it in the US. And because of that, it presents a huge problem with the border and trying to get this car across the border. Because it is modified, there's like a letter of compliance. I've looked into it. There's a lot of things that have to get done to import a vehicle that is a Canadian car going into the US. And I just think that logistically, it would create a lot of hurdles. It could create a situation where one of you guys wins it and then you can't bring it back over, or you can't register it in your state. And then it's just a messy thing. So as much as we would love to give these cars away, at this point, we're just not there yet. We may figure things out with cars like, if we do a very lightly modified car, that might be something that could work. But a car like this that doesn't have any emissions equipment, that's got an engine swap, it's just not feasible. Now, I'm super sad to see this car go because it's been in my family for over a decade. I actually bought this car back in 2008 as an automatic 95 S14 Zenki model. So it had the early model front end. It was a base model car. And with my brother, we ended up putting the Koki front end on it. We did all the JDM aero after. We did the C-West hood. We did the C-West front lip. And we put an SR into it. And then after we did the SR, we went through, I went through actually a couple of SRs. And that's when we decided to do the K-Swap. And that's where this car is now. I think it's a super well-sorted vehicle. It runs really well. It is a track car though, guys. Like, don't be mistaken, this car is loud, it's noisy. If you've watched the past couple of videos, you can see it doesn't have a wonderful street driving experience. That's not to say you can't drive it on the street, because it is kind of the perfect car to drive from the track and back from the track, as long as you can tolerate a bucket seat. But to use this car strictly as a street car, like a show car, its purpose is not there. Really what we've done, I think, is built a very well-sorted track car with it, and a K-Swap to boot. So that kind of brings up the next segment here, and that is to look at the costs involved of building this vehicle. So let's get started here with the S14 chassis with the JDM aero, the hood, all that jazz. I've listed that at $3,500 as a value, all in US dollars, by the way. The K-Swap itself, we did a full video on that. I'll link it in the top right corner. That cost us $8,100. And from there, we've done Drag Cartel cams at $949, SuperTech valve train $350, K-tuned valve cover at $300, K-tuned 70mm throttle body at $200, K-Miata intake manifold $550, Unit 2 custom race oil pan was $1,500, Sickie front sway bar was $300, Super Pro rear sway bar $285, the KW Club Sport 2A coilovers, they are $3,400. The Core 4 Motorsports Big Brake Kit is $2,500. The brake pads for that were $300 from PFC. Our Graham Light 57 CR wheels at 18 by 9.5 are $1,630. Our Toyo R888s are $1,182. Our Tomei Catback is $981. Our Tomei LSD is $998. Our Godspeed control arms around on all four corners are $680. Our Recaro SPG is $1,045. Our Takata harness is $255. The Auto Power roll bar is $665. The R32 GTR passenger seat I've got listed for around $400. I know the price has gone up on those recently. The personal steering wheel is $308. The work spell quick release is $350. The energy hub that holds that in place is $100. The stack gauge cluster with the Broadfield Customs surround that he custom built for that is $1,288. The Speed Hut AFR and boost gauges in there are $300, and the Odyssey battery with the trunk mount in the rear is around $250. Whew. So are you ready for the total of this? It kind of shocked me because anytime you add up the cost of what you've put into your car, it's always staggering, and this is a whopping $32,665 US dollars, which equates to 43,000 Canadian dollars. Man. And that does not include labor, all the effort, all the cursing, all that went into doing this swap and building this car. And I guess the real question here is, what is this car worth now? And that's also something that's very, very, very debatable. There's not a lot of K-swapped S14s around. So we've kind of been going back and forth as to try to figure out what this vehicle is worth. And we're looking, I think we're gonna start the price around 25 grand Canadian or $19,000 US. And I think that's a pretty fair price considering everything that's put into it. Once again, some of you might be like, holy smokes, that's a ton of money for an S chassis. And some of you might be like, okay, I get it. This is a great deal. And really, the beauty of a car like this is it's already sorted. So if the track guy knows, like when you go buy a car, you don't know its history, you don't know how it's gonna perform on track. At least with this vehicle, you do. You've watched the videos, you know all that. So I think that's something that is a huge selling point for this car. This being a track car, the body hasn't been a high priority for me. This is an original red Ontario car, which means it has seen some winters. Since I've purchased it back in 08, from that point onwards, it never saw winters, but prior to that, it was heavily undercoated, which has helped it maintain, I think, what I would consider a fairly good chassis. But I know by looking at it, there are some rust spots and whatnot, so it has been winter driven in the past. That being said, the chassis has about 200,000 kilometers on it, so about 125,000 miles. All the aero on here is OEM JDM Koki aero. It does have a fair share of dings, dents, scratches here and there. The front end, when we did the conversion on it, if you look very closely, you can see that the paint match isn't perfect, so it does have a little bit of a different shade of red. Now, in terms of, I think, the worst spot on this car, cosmetically, that is here, and this is where there was a bit of rust going on, and my brother did this patch job. He painted it up here and just kind of like sealed it in. So this car is actually perfect for over fenders. I think it would certainly benefit from it. You could put more tire on it and whatnot, because there's scratches here, there's a couple of dents on the other side as well on the rear quarter, and underneath, though, as I mentioned, there is, I think the worst rust spot is along the bottom of the rockers. It's not terrible, but it's something, you know, a perfectionist would want to fix for sure. The engine bay is very, very clean. There's no rust there. The frame rails, which if you guys know these cars, they rot out very quickly. This car, the frame rails are excellent. The rear subframe actually has been replaced. I replaced it with a JDM one, so it's in great shape. The fuel lines have been replaced as well. So I've done all of the hard work in terms of making sure that there's nothing that's going to give you problems if you're trying to fix it. Mechanically, this car is incredibly sound. We've now run it at multiple track days with zero issues, so I think it is very well sorted. But there are some small little quirks with it. For example, we don't have reverse lights. When we wired up the swap, there really wasn't an easy way to put reverse lights into it, so there are no reverse lights. Again, it's a track car. I don't think you're gonna need them. There's a weird thing going on with the turn signal. When you turn the indicator on for the left turn signal, it blinks quicker than the right one. And I've been trying to track it down. Usually that means a bulb's burnt out, but it's not. And I think it might have to do with the JDM turn signals and like the resistance on one of the bulbs. So I think adding like a resistor could fix that. All right, guys, so that is it for this episode. Post in the comments, is this a crack price? Did you expect it to cost this much money? And are we on point with it? Are you sad to see it go? Do you understand that we've got other projects to move on to? Like for me, the S15, the money that I'm gonna get from this car, I'm gonna pour into the S15. I've been always wanting one of those cars, so I'm super pumped for it. So that is it. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Our personal steering wheel is $350. Our works bell quick release is, the works bell quick release is $350.